Making headlines tonight at 9. Premier reveals long-held vision. Prime Minister sets out his vision for the country's economy.
First at 9. This is Derana 24/7.
Elections looming. Elections Commission chairman to issue local government election notices for 3 provinces in October. Feltman calls on the president, says UN will extend its fullest support for the development process and reconciliation. Bolt warms up. Usain Bolt dips below 10 seconds for the first time this season ahead of World Championships. In headlines overseas, Spicer walks out on White House, a former banker appointed as the new White House Communications Director. Good evening. First at 9, this is your primetime news on Derana 24/7. I'm Indivri Amwatha. We take a look at your top stories making news here at home. President Maithripala Sirisena says some extreme elements in the north influence people in displacement camps against accepting land and houses offered to them by the government and to instead demand lands from other areas. The president made the remarks speaking at a meeting with United Nations Under-Secretary General for Political Affairs Jeffrey Feltman yesterday.
Wrapping up a 3-day visit to the island, United Nations Under-Secretary General for Political Affairs Jeffrey Feltman called on President Maithripala Sirisena yesterday at the president's official residence in Colombo. During the meeting with the UN Under-Secretary General, President Sirisena stated that certain political opportunists in the south level baseless allegations against the government. He added that the government is determined to implement its programs for reconciliation and development. Feltman said the UN would continue to extend its fullest support to Sri Lanka's development process and reconciliation. He also commended the progress made by the country in many areas despite challenges brought on by natural disasters and hardline political factions.
Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe affirms that an agreement will be signed before the end of this month, handing over the Hambantota port to a Chinese company. He made these remarks at a meeting held at Templetrees today.
United National Party representatives of the Birgam electorate met Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe today to commemorate his 40th year in politics.
I didn't think I would be in politics for 40 years. In the past 2 years, I was asked what I had gotten myself into. I said I wanted to take on the challenge of creating an open economy and set up a trade zone. Back then, some thought I was dreaming. But we founded the trade zone in Walgama, in which there are currently over 100 factories. We have commenced construction of the central highway from Kadawatha, which will finish before the end of 2020. When we took over the government, we inherited an economy laden with debt. I declare that the debt will be paid off by 2025. The agreement relating to the Hambantota port will be signed before the end of this month, and a novel way of operating the Mattal International Airport will be implemented by the end of this year.
Last evening, Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe held discussions with Purawasi Balaya and other civil organisations.
I was asked about corruption, into which many investigations are ongoing. Some of these were brought to the Attorney General's Department by the police. Some of them have been taken up in courts. We were accused of not disclosing these to the public. We're working to develop the people's standard of living. We're going to produce the preliminary report of the Constitution soon.
Following the meeting with the Prime Minister, members of Purawasi Balaya addressed media.
They agreed to bring a draft of the Constitution to Parliament by the end of next month. The Prime Minister came to an agreement to hold the provincial council elections as soon as possible.
Chairman of the Elections Commission, Mahinda Deshapriya, says local government election notices for the eastern, north central and Sabaragamu provinces will be issued in October. He made the revelation at an event held in Ratnapura today.
An awareness program related to the right to vote and revision of the electoral list was held in the Ruwanpura National College of Education today. Chairman of the Elections Commission, Mahinda Deshapriya, participated in the event as chief guest.
We can't hold elections because the Parliament hasn't yet passed the necessary bill. We can't do anything until specific laws are introduced. However, we have decided to issue local government election notices for the Eastern, North Central and Suburban provinces by the 3rd of October. Nothing can diminish the importance of your right to vote. We have to do our best to protect that right.
An unidentified gunman opened fire at the vehicle of Jaffna High Court Judge M. Ilanchelian in Nallur, Jaffna, this afternoon. Justice Ilanchelian, who is presiding over the case of the rape and murder of schoolgirl Sivaloganathan Vidya, was unharmed by the shooting. However, an officer attached to the judge's security detail was injured in the shooting, having been providing motorcycle escort behind the judge's vehicle. The injured police officer has been admitted to the Jaffna hospital and is undergoing surgery, and Jaffna police are investigating into the incident. 18-year-old Sivaloganathan Vidya from Jaffna was abducted, raped and murdered while returning from school on the 13th of May 2015. As human society continues to evolve, tied to technological advances, its vices evolve likewise, presenting a much debated topic with few answers. Common morals and regard for social safety show a decline, and sometimes simple conflicts among people may spark destruction, injury and possible loss of life. Well, a dispute between two groups sparked a grenade attack in Angunukula Palace last night, leaving 19 people injured, one of whom is in critical condition.
A brawl erupted between two groups of youths at around 9:30 p.m. last night near the Vatia Junction in Angunukula Palace along the Amilipitia No-Nagama main road. The scuffle broke out when two individuals travelling on a motorcycle were intercepted at the junction, and one of them was assaulted by a group of youths. The victim of the assault escaped and hid himself in a nearby house. His companion fled by motorcycle and returned with a posse of youths armed with clubs and sharp weapons. A clash ensued between the two gangs, and amid the scuffle, a grenade was discharged, injuring 19 people, including youths from both gangs as well as bystanders. 3 of the injured were admitted to the Tangor Base Hospital and 16 to the Amblipitia Base Hospital. A 34-year-old admitted to the Amblipitia Base Hospital is reportedly in critical condition. Police say a long-standing dispute led to the brawl between the two groups, who are mostly between 20 and 30 years of age. The suspect who launched the grenade attack has been taken into custody, and further investigation by police is underway.
A 3-day voluntary clean-up campaign will be conducted in schools across the island starting Friday next week. Spearheaded by the government, this initiative aims to curb the spread of dengue, which has affected over 100,000 persons so far this year.
As measures to prevent further loss of life and reduce the spread of dengue, the government has decided to conduct a voluntary clean-up campaign from the 28th to the 30th of this month at all schools and government institutions in the country. 32-year-old Lesan Suranga, a resident of Bulletin 09.00, fell victim to the dengue epidemic when he passed away on the 18th of this month. He was among the 290 victims of the epidemic so far this year. The final rites of young Lesan Suranga were performed last evening. Speaking at an event held in Pannala yesterday, Minister of Education Akila Viraj Karivasam announced that a circular has been issued to all schools regarding the campaign. Meanwhile, speaking at an event held in Kalutara today, Minister of Health Dr. Raj Senaratne said that representatives from the World Health Organization are in Sri Lanka to assist in the eradication of dengue in Sri Lanka.
4 foreign specialists from the World Health Organization are currently in Sri Lanka. Yesterday, they presented a 4-week plan that will reduce the spread of dengue by 50%. On Monday, I will convene a meeting with all relevant authorities to put this plan into action.
Despite these efforts, some members of the public continue to discard waste unsystematically, as captured last night by CCTV cameras installed by the Waste Management Task Force in the restricted area of Keselwatta in Colombo 1.
Minister of Health Dr. Rajitha Senaratne says a project monitoring committee will be appointed to manage health projects that cost more than 300 million rupees to the country. Addressing an event held in Colombo, he also revealed the government's plan to develop a health sector according to international standards by year 2020.
A ceremony for the signing of an agreement to construct a modern neonatal specialist centre for the Desoisa Maternity Hospital in Colombo was held under the patronage of Health Minister Dr. Rajitha Senaratne. The project, funded by Ideal Medical Products Engineering of France, will build a 7-story medical complex according to World Health Organization standards.
We
are planning to develop this maternity hospital to international standards. We will also do the same for the Castle Street Hospital for Women. Colombo will then have 2 highly advanced maternity hospitals. We received funds from the Netherlands to construct a new women's and children's hospital in Kalutara. I was able to secure funds from China to construct another women's and children's hospital in Colombo North. Similarly, many hospitals are being constructed across several districts. We're constructing an OPD complex in the National Hospital with standards similar to that of hospitals in Europe. We will join hands with Austria to conduct transplants. We will be building a whole new tower to conduct general surgeries, transplants, and that would also deal with matters pertaining to urology and nephrology. We will be constructing a new cardiology unit with funds from China. We will build another hospital in Polonnaruwa for kidney diseases. The Medical Research Institute in China, which happens to be one of the largest of its kind in the world, gave us $5 billion to construct a medical research institute here in Sri Lanka. It will focus on researching about causes related to kidney diseases, not just in Sri Lanka, but also in the region. This, I believe, is the largest investment we've received from another country. We expect to conclude all these projects by 2020.
Minister of Law and Order and Southern Development Sagar Ratnayake today instructed the Inspector General of Police to launch an investigation into the attempted arrest of the convener of Medical Faculty Students Activists Committee, Ryan Jailath. The incident sparked various reactions, with the Inter-University Students Federation and Medical Faculty Students Activists Committee conducting a satyagraha this afternoon, condemning the attempted arrest.
Trade unions and other civil organizations criticized the attempt to arrest the convener of the Medical Faculty Students Activists Committee, Ryan Jailath, by plainclothes police officers on Thursday the 20th. Accordingly, Minister of Law and Order and Southern Development, Sagar Ratnayake, said in a communique that he ordered the Inspector General of Police to investigate the methods used by the police in the attempt to arrest Ryan Jailath. He went on to say that he will make a special statement in Parliament regarding the incident during the coming week. Meanwhile, the Inter-University Students Federation and Medical Faculty Students Activist Committee commenced a satyagraha focusing on several demands, including the abolishment of CITEM and ceasing the arrests of students. A tense situation arose when the police presented an order from the Halsdorf Magistrates Court stopping the satyagraha. Meanwhile, several politicians expressed their views today on the attempted arrest of the convener of the Medical Faculty Student Activists Committee.
We can clearly see that the dark age of abducting young people and burning them alive is back. Derana media network reported this incident impartially by being with the common man. The police could have come to arrest him in uniform. Is he a thief? They are only saying they came to arrest him because they were caught attempting to abduct him. The van does not belong to the police. Are the police operating gangs tasked with suppression? Although they accused Mahinda Rajapaksa of using white vans, no one found any. The ones who were supposedly abducted call home from foreign countries.
Still in local news, former Minister Basil Rajapaksa says the present government will be toppled even if it means having to parade the streets. He made these remarks at a party promotion campaign of the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna in Kalutara today.
They said that they will defeat the new party and make us walk. They were not able to do this to me, but they've managed to take me to court countless times. I wish to say that we will ensure that we will develop this party and we will send this government home even if we have to take to the streets.
Meanwhile, speaking at an event in Varakapola, MP Dumina Disanayake stated that through the formation of the new party, former Minister Basil Rajapaksa will be responsible for destroying the future of MP Namal Rajapaksa.
Mahinda Rajapaksa visits the Kurunegala district and meets the people in the area as if he truly cares for them. What will the situation of preferential votes be when there are 4 Rajapaksas in Hambantota? There will be fights within the family. The person who is currently responsible for running the party is Basil Rajapaksa. It is Basil who is responsible for Mahinda Rajapaksa's downfall, the collapse of the government and the division of the SLFP. He will not only destroy Mahinda Rajapaksa once again, but he will destroy Namal Rajapaksa's future too. This is the truth.
On a separate note, MP Mahinda Yapabe Wardana yesterday commented the action taken by Minister of Justice Vijayadasa Rajapaksa following the visit of Special UN Rapporteur on Human Rights and Counterterrorism, Ben Emerson.
We are proud of the way Minister Vijayadasa Rajapaksa stood up for war heroes at a time when they are attempting to send them to jail and ridicule our nation. Drugs were imported by outsiders during the previous regime. However, at present, the government is importing drugs. Who is responsible for this? It is the ministers in the government who should be held accountable.
සතොසින් තමයි කොකේන් ගෙන්නන්නේ. ඒතකොට මේකට සම්බන්ධ වෙලා ඉන්නේ කවුද? මේ රජයේ වගකීතු ඇමතිවරු තමයි මේ කටයුත්තට සම්බන්ධ.
Over 54,000 families are affected by the severe drought across 13 districts of the island. The Department of Meteorology says that the dry weather is expected to continue, leaving people in these areas destitute.
The drought, which has affected 11 Grama Seva divisions falling under the purview of the Valikanda Divisional Secretariat in the Polonnaru district, have been affected by drought for close to a year. Residents say that they are faced with a water crisis as even the smallest water catchments in the area are dry. The District Disaster Management Centre has taken measures to distribute water to affected areas using bowsers for residents' day-to-day use. However, area residents are requesting a permanent solution to the issue. Meanwhile, a stream located in close proximity to the Tandakumburu junction has dried up owing to the drought. Our correspondent said that it has been 5 days since the water stopped flowing through the area. Around 5,000 families in the Badula district are faced with a water shortage. Their only water source are public and private wells. As a temporary measure, the Disaster Management Unit of the Badula district, together with the Valimata Divisional Secretariat, distributed water using bowsers.
In your business news tonight, the mission chief of the International Monetary Fund to Sri Lanka, Jaivu Lee, says that Sri Lanka needs further progress in structural reform to meet the objectives of the Extended Fund Facility Program. Via video conference from Washington, Lee also told journalists yesterday that the government has already drawn the tranche of $167.2 million under the extended arrangement of the Extended Fund Facility.
Reserve continues to increase at a steady pace, which is very welcome development. Fiscal performance has been very robust. It has been steadily improving. Next challenges or goal to pursue will be to make sure that further progress is made in structural reform, which again will strengthen the platform for ongoing further medium-term fiscal consolidation. And greater exchange rate flexibility will be helpful in strengthening external resilience of Sri Lankan economy. The need to increase the level of reserves and strengthen and enhance the management of overall public finances as well as state-owned enterprises.
Jaivu Lee was also questioned on the progress of Sri Lanka's structural reform amid issues faced by national carrier Sri Lankan Airlines, which has incurred heavy losses and been plagued with administrative issues in recent months.
But currently, The nature of these structural measures are certain unpredictability is just part and parcel of these efforts because situations change and there are some unforeseen elements that come up once you try to actually execute the reform. And certain adaptation of the pace or details are expected to be part of the process. So relative to that norm, yes, it would be better if the progress could be faster.
Still in business news, the Asia-Pacific Group on Money Laundering says Sri Lanka found a way to be fully compliant with international requirements relating to measures against terrorism financing. Its Executive Secretary, Dr. Gordon Hook, addressed a media briefing in Colombo yesterday following the 20th annual plenary of Asia-Pacific Group on Money Laundering and Terrorism Financing.
And Sri Lanka was found to be fully compliant with the international requirements relating to both terrorism financing, measures against terrorism financing, and measures to implement targeted financial sanctions against terrorists listed by the United Nations. That is a good news story for Sri Lanka. And Sri Lanka, prior to that, had been doing a lot of hard work getting to that point.
This particular meeting was held in order to show our commitments to the world that we are ready to take a pivotal role in combating money laundering and terrorist financing.
In international business news, Australia has sent its first uranium shipment to India for testing ahead of possible commercial sales. Australian Foreign Minister Julie Bishop confirmed the transfer, saying in a statement today that commercial negotiations are ongoing between Australian uranium exporters and India's Department of Atomic Energy. Former Australian Prime Minister Tony Abbott signed an agreement with India for civil nuclear cooperation in year 2014, and current Prime Minister Malcolm Turnbull confirmed the country's intention to export uranium to India after talks with Indian counterpart Narendra Modi in April. Eight-time Olympic champion Usain Bolt ran his first sub-10-second time of the year to win the 100 meters at the Diamond League in Monaco. Last evening's event comes with Bolt having confirmed that he will run the 100 meters and 4 into 100 meter relay at the World Championships in August before retiring.
Last night's race in Monaco was arguably Usain Bolt's toughest test since he won double Olympic gold in Rio 2016. Bolt was slow out just like he was in Ostrava and never managed to put a big gap between himself and the field, but was still over the line in 9.95 seconds. The Jamaican was 0.03 of a second ahead of American Isaiah Young, with South Africa's Akani Simbine third in 10.02 seconds.
And Chris Froome moved one step closer to a hat-trick of Tour de France titles, suffering no mishaps on the Tour's longest stage yesterday to retain a 23-second lead for the yellow jersey. Norwegian Edvald Boasson Hagen attacked a 9-man lead group and claimed stage 19 5 seconds ahead of German Nikias Arndt.
Edvald Boasson Hagen and Nikias Arndt both took the shortest line around a roundabout to leave 7 other breakaway riders trailing, with Hagen holding off Arndt with a strong finish. Meanwhile, Chris Froome's Team Sky colleagues formed a wedge in white at the front of the peloton to keep their leader out of trouble. 32-year-old Froome will claim a 3rd consecutive and 4th overall Tour de France title, barring a crash in today's time trial in Marseille.
In your world tonight, White House Press Secretary Sean Spicer resigned yesterday, ending a short and turbulent tenure amid further upheaval within U.S. President Donald Trump's inner circle. Spicer's abrupt resignation follows the appointment of Anthony Scaramucci as White House Communications Director, a post whose duties Spicer had also been fulfilling.
Newly appointed White House Communications Director Anthony Scaramucci is a former banker and supporter of U.S. President Donald Trump.
I want to thank personally Sean Spicer. This is obviously a difficult situation to be in, and I applaud his efforts here.
Sean Spicer's role as press secretary will be taken on by his deputy, Sarah Huckabee Sanders. Speaking to US media, Spicer said his decision to resign was sudden, but that he made the right choice.
My decision was to recommend to the president that I give Anthony and Sarah a clean slate to start from, so that I'm not lurking over them.
During his tenure as press secretary, Spicer was known for holding chaotic media briefings, often clashing with reporters.
This was the largest audience to ever witness an inauguration, period. Hitler didn't even sink to using chemical weapons. I think sometimes we can disagree with the facts.
Is he confused or are you confused?
No, I'm not confused. I mean, that's the silliest thing I've ever heard. Okay, this is silly. Okay, next.
Lawmakers in the Philippines have voted overwhelmingly to extend martial law to deal with an Islamist insurgency in the island of Mindanao.
Militants linked to so-called Islamic State have been occupying parts of Marawi, a city in the island of Mindanao, since May. A previously imposed 60-day martial rule was due to expire today, having gone into effect on the 23rd of May, hours after deadly clashes between the army and insurgents. Criticism of the extension has been immediate, and martial law is a sensitive issue in the Philippines, where it was imposed by late dictator Ferdinand Marcos for much of his rule. The extension means the law will now remain in force until the 31st of December.
Here's a look at a few other stories making news across the world.
3 Israelis were stabbed to death by a 19-year-old Palestinian in the Israeli-occupied West Bank, hours after the killing of 3 Palestinians in clashes prompted by the installation of metal detectors at the Temple Mount compound, one of the holiest sites in Jerusalem. Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas has ordered the suspension of all official contact with Israel until the removal of the security measures. Amid a deepening political and economic crisis, Venezuela's opposition-led Congress appointed alternative judges to the country's pro-government Supreme Court, raising the possibility of a parallel state. The Supreme Court, which backs President Nicolas Maduro, says the naming of the alternate judges is illegal, warning that they could be imprisoned. Qatari Emir Sheikh Tamim bin Hamad Al Thani says his country is ready for dialogue to resolve the ongoing Gulf diplomatic crisis, however stressing that its sovereignty must be respected.
The time has come for us to spare the people from political differences between the two governments.
That was a look at your world tonight, but before we go, here's a look at the weather forecast for the next 24 hours. That wraps up tonight's edition of your Primetime News. Before we go, we take you to the River Thames in England, where the annual practice of upping was held recently in a tradition dating back to the 12th century. It is a combined census and health checkup for swans living on the river, conducted with much pomp and ceremony, where swans are captured, weighed and treated for injuries before being released. Have a pleasant evening. Good night.
Bringing you the news and information 24 hours a day. This is Sri Lanka's premier news channel, Derana 24/7.